Recently, we've talked a lot about the less celebrated commando missions of the Clone Wars. Operations that, despite not being as flashy as the grand battles of the conflict, played essential roles in determining the course of the war. Today, we'll be discussing another such mission, the mission to Ord Cestus, which took place in 22 BBY. This mission seemed straightforward. A team of clones and Jedi were sent to stop the production of new combat droids that could have changed the course of the Clone Wars. But the operation ended up being anything but simple, and nearly everything the Jedi thought they knew at the beginning turned out to be a lie. In this video, we'll be unraveling the story of this crucial mission.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Ord Cestus was a planet in the Diastan sector of the Outer Rim. Most of the planet was covered by desert or semi-desert, but despite this, the planet was home to an indigenous sentient species, the Exting, an insectoid species that lived as part of one planet-wide colony. During the Golden Age of the Republic, the Exting sold off part of their planet to the Republic, which wanted to build a prison colony on Ord Cestus. Initially, this arrangement worked just fine, but a few hundred years before the Clone Wars, the political landscape of Ord Cestus began to change. Several of the prisoners collaborated with the colony administrators to found Cestus Cybernetics, a droid manufacturing company based on the planet. The company bought up the colony and began to expand across Ord Cestus, mining the planet's natural resources for use in the production of battle droids. As they began to expand out from the land that the Exting had originally sold to the Republic, they unleashed the Great Plague, a pandemic that swept through the Exting colony and wiped out 90% of the planet's indigenous population. Following this, Cestus Cybernetics took de facto control of the planet. By the time of the Clone Wars, Ord Cestus was still technically ruled by the Hive Council, the Exting government, but in practice, the Hive Council answered to Cestus Cybernetics, which in turn was controlled by the Five Families, a group of oligarchs that owned the company. There was some resistance to this state of affairs, most notably from the Desert Wing, a band of anarchist guerrilla fighters seeking to overthrow the Five Families. But for the most part, Cestus Cybernetics had complete control of Ord Cestus, which it sought to shape into a leading battle droid manufacturer. When the Clone Wars broke out, the Diastan sector seceded and joined the CIS, a move the Five Families largely supported. Nonetheless, they were still open to trade relations with the Republic and would be more accurately described as a neutral. But a few months into the Clone Wars, it seemed as if that might change. Cestus Cybernetics had developed a brand new, ultra-deadly model of combat droid, the JK-13. This was an insect-like, gold-plated unit equipped with a blaster-resistant force shield and hundreds of stun tentacles. Its primary weapons, which could slice through flesh and deliver lethal electric shocks to opponents. But what made the JK-13 truly dangerous was that it wasn't a droid at all. Each unit was controlled by an immature Dashta eel, a kind of force-sensitive creature native to Ord Cestus. These eels had a limited precognitive ability which allowed the JK-13 to sense an opponent's movements before they happened. This meant that the JK-13 was an extremely tough opponent, even for Jedi. So much so that rumor held that the JK in the droid's name stood for Jedi Killer. The mere existence of these droids was a major threat to the Jedi, but then word reached Republic intelligence that Cestus Cybernetics had arranged to sell tens of thousands of JK-13s to Count Dooku. If the CIS got a hold of large numbers of JK-13s, the Jedi Council feared it could cost the Republic the Clone Wars. Thus, they dispatched Obi-Wan Kenobi, Kit Fisto, and a team of clones, including the ARC Trooper Alpha 98, to prevent the CIS from taking delivery of the droids at any cost. Plan A was to convince Cestus Cybernetics to sell the droids to the Republic instead, and failing this, Plan B was to overthrow the Five Families and bring Ord Cestus under Republic control. Kenobi was to handle the negotiations, while Fisto, Alpha 98, and the clones made contact with the Desert Wind. After arriving on Ord Cestus, Kenobi determined that the Five Families would need some added incentive to sign a contract with the Republic, so he and Fisto worked out a ruse to sway their loyalties. Kid Fisto, posing as one of Count Dooku's dark acolytes, led a team of Desert Wind militants and kidnapped the heads of 4 of the 5 families. Kenobi then rescued the oligarchs from captivity, staging a mock battle with Fisto and the militants in doing so. The ruse worked. After the rescue, the heads of the 5 families enthusiastically agreed to give the contract for the JK-13s to the Republic instead. All was going well until one of the families received evidence that the whole thing had been staged. Just like that, Plan A fell through and the Republic operatives moved on to Plan B. They worked with the Desert Wind to destroy Cestus Cybernetics facilities across the planet, hoping to cripple the Cestian economy and thus force the 5 families out of power. This plan was going well until the Desert Wind compound was located and attacked by a team of JK-13s, which incurred heavy casualties on the militants and forced them to abandon their stronghold. But the Desert Wind was undeterred by this loss. They and the Jedi contacted the Nexu, a Republic assault ship in the area, and arranged a plan to destroy Cestus Cybernetics' main factory via orbital bombardment. The Jedi planted homing beacons deep inside the factory to assist the bombardment, after which they left to meet with an extinct contact of theirs to secure additional equipment for the operation. During this meeting, however, they were ambushed by Asajj Ventress. Ventress had been on Ord Cestus the whole time, helping sway the 5 families back into the Separatist camp. But this hadn't been her only mission. After the Jedi had planted targeting beacons in the Cestus Cybernetics factory, she had moved them to the heart of one of the planet's largest cities. As it turned out, the Confederacy had purchased the JK-13s in a bid to draw the Republic's attention to Ord Cestus. The droids were only a distraction meant to bait the Republic into accidentally bombing millions of civilians, something that would undoubtedly radicalize the populations of neighboring sectors, leading to a wave of secessions. Before the Jedi could relay this information to their assault ship, however, they were engaged by Ventress, who fought a lengthy battle to keep them occupied while the attack proceeded. While Ventress was keeping the Jedi occupied, however, Alpha 98, who by this point in the mission had started calling himself Jango Tat, was able to locate the 5 families' private bunker, to which the oligarchs had retreated after learning there was a Republic assault ship in orbit. Jango Tat and the leader of Desert Wind stormed the bunker, only to come face to face with a JK-13. In the ensuing battle, the militant leader ended up blowing himself up in a bid to destroy the droid. The droid survived, but when the dust cleared, it began smashing its head into a rock wall, much to Jango Tat's confusion. It was only when he examined the droid and discovered the Dashta eel inside that he recognized what had happened. The creature controlling the JK-13 had gone insane. As it turned out, the Dashta eels were peaceful creatures that couldn't stand death. The whole JK-13 project was a lie. The droids would never be suitable for battlefield use, and the 5 families had known that from the beginning. They'd been trying to scam the Confederacy, hoping to amass enough wealth through their deception to be able to expand off Ord Cestus. Jango Tat recorded what he had discovered and transmitted it to the Jedi, who by this point had escaped from Ventress. Then, believing that the 5 families had to be removed for Ord Cestus to be free, he contacted the assault ship and ordered a last-minute change of targets for the orbital bombardment, calling down a strike on his position. The 5 families' bunker was vaporized, and the oligarchs were all killed. Cestus Cybernetics promptly collapsed, and the X-Ting were able to regain control of their homeworld thanks to Jango Tat's sacrifice. In the end, the mission to Ord Cestus was deemed a success by Republic leadership. The whole JK-13 thing had been a ruse on 2 fronts. The Confederacy was just hoping to bait the Republic into committing mass murder, while Cestus Cybernetics had been trying to scam both sides out of billions of credits for droids that didn't even work. The whole operation was a mess, but in the end, the people of Ord Cestus were free and they chose to rejoin the Republic. So that's our look at one of the most convoluted missions of the Clone Wars. If you're interested in learning more about this operation, and especially about Jango Tat's story, we highly recommend you read the Cestus Deception, the novel this all comes from. But what do you think? Would you like to hear more about Ord Cestus in the future? Free to post your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.